Hello, cultists! Welcome to the release of Flame of Zalta! So we finally have the new cards. They have come out. So there's going to be a bunch of changes with this set. I mean, first of all, there's obviously like a bunch of new mechanics and things like that, just tons of new cards. That's always interesting. But on top of that, there was an organized play announcement, and of course, Eternal is coming to the Switch. So if you want to get on your Switch and play it there, you can do that now. It's available for download. There's also now going to be a different way of doing the championship. So there's now quarterly championship qualifiers. You want to be in the top 100 of ranked to help qualify, or you can also be in expedition. So they're now going to be calling ranked is going to be thrown, and expedition is, well, going to stay expeditions. If you want to find out what your ranking is in expeditions, they have it up on their actual website. So there is a leaderboard standings link, which I will post in the video down below, that will show you if you're in the top 100. Well, they slowly import that somehow into the client. So they haven't done that yet, but currently you can just look it up on the website. So what we're going to be doing is, because expeditions are now essentially the, if you've ever played Magic, the standard set, or if you watch Hearthstone, then it's the, is it called standard? Basically, like, ranked is going to be wild, and then this is going to be basic or standard, or however they qualify that, the most recent sets. And this is going to be very important. So expedition is now something that matters. And expedition format has rotated a lot of cards. There is a massive amount of cards that have changed. So some set 1 cards are still in. There's still a little bit of Eternal Throne, but there's not a lot of it anymore. It matches up exactly with the new draft packs. So with the new draft set, everything that you draft from here is going to be legal in expeditions. That's how they've done it, which I think is actually kind of a cool idea, in that if you draft, you have a direct pipeline into a ranked format, right? So that's kind of nice. It lets everybody who's new start out drafting and then jump right into expedition with usable cards. So that's kind of cool. That being said, I'm going to try and split my time a little bit between ranked and expedition because of this. And today, I wanted to start with an expedition list. One of the big reasons that I wanted to start with expedition this month is that there is going to be a bit of a problem playing ranked right now. There's nothing wrong with this per se, but just so you have an idea, if you're expecting to play ranked because you want to see a bunch of new cards and you want to try out a bunch of cool new decks and you're excited and interested in Flame of Zalta, you're going to be sorely disappointed. I highly recommend that you go to expeditions. The people that are playing in ranked right now will realize that basically the decks that they're playing in ranked currently that don't include any cards from Zalta are tested and good, and they know that. Any new stuff from Zalta is a little bit of a leap, right? You don't know what's good yet. So they're going to let everybody else do the testing, and they're just going to dunk on you. If you're trying to test out new cards and you do it in ranked, everybody's just going to run the most meta list that they can from before this set and have a really, really good win rate because everybody else is trying out new things. Trying out new things just makes you an incredible fish. You're going to be a huge underdog, and people are just going to eat you alive, and it's going to be kind of miserable. And that's going to happen for about a month. It's a combination of people don't want to buy the new cards yet, or don't have the money to, and also just that they know that if they have a well-tuned list already, they don't need to take any risks. They can just eat everybody alive who's playing untuned lists. Even though your list might ultimately end up better than current ranked, it doesn't matter because your list isn't currently optimized. It's going to take some time and testing to do that, and in the meantime, they're just going to eat you alive. It's an unfortunate side effect of just rank mattering, right? Like, especially now that we actually have that announcement where you need to be in the top 100 to get qualifier points for the big quarterly championship qualifiers and things like that. There's really just no reason for people to risk it, and they won't. So you're going to see even more meta decks than before because now ranked matters again. So just a tip, you want to stay out of that. In any case, this is our deck. It is Expedition Dragon Cult. and I have not played a single game with it yet. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm gonna test it, start from scratch. I'm really excited about it though. I've played some similar lists already, so I've been testing around this kind of idea, although I haven't done this exact list. I've done a lot of cultist lists, but I haven't really combined it with the dragons yet. I did play a deck that was playing Karvet, but it was more around the dragon side of things, and this card was insane. So I decided that I really wanted to make sure that I did both of them at the same time. So what we have here is we have a kind of low-to-the-ground cultist list with a few top-end dragons. So we're running Cult Aspirant, Faceless One. So these are all just cultists. Nahid's Faithful, so that you can sacrifice Faceless Ones, or Nahid's Choice Cultists. You're going to have Xenan Lifespeaker, so that you get a lot of lifesteal, and because it's just a large cultist. Smokedancer to go with the dragon allies, one of the cards that I actually haven't tested yet, but it seems like a nice aggressive card for us to have. Zhen-Zu, which has really overperformed. This card has been insane for me, and you can get into some really cool little tricks with it as well. I'll get into that. So we've got Zhen-Zu, we've got Shadowlands Guide, so you can play a unit with cost 1 or less from your void. When we have 4 different units that all cost 1, Shadowlands Guide becomes very powerful, especially with things like Nahid's Faithful. You make it a 4/3, and then you can make it into like a 6/5, etc., etc., and it just gets larger and larger off of Shadowlands Guide, and eventually you just don't have to sacrifice. It's just massive. We have Vile Collaborator, which was very good in the dragons list, so I'm trying it out here again with these new dragons. So our dragons get +1/+1 and have lifesteal. We have then Dread Hellkite, which is just a nice aggressive dragon for us, since we are a pretty aggro list. Then we have Marsh Dragon, which I might want to cut down on these, but I wanted to test it out. It seems like it's a little bit of fun. We've got a lot of cultists we don't mind sacrificing, and we can buy back with things like Shadowlands Guide, or we've got like Nahid's Choice. If we get Karvet, then they get exalted. And so Marsh Dragon seems kind of fun that way, in that if we're in a little bit of trouble, and we've got a bunch of things in our void, which we generally will, then Marsh Dragon can gain us a bunch of life and stabilize us very quickly, and I wanted to test that and see how well it works. So this card could very easily be a cut, but I wanted to see how good it was, and that's part of the fun of testing out new decks, right? I wanted to see this, and I wanted to show you, and you can make your own decision as to whether or not Marsh Dragon actually should be a cut in this deck, and whether or not it's actually good enough. Because it's got potential, I think. It's an interesting card. It's really good when you're behind and you just need to gain a bunch of life and stabilize. I mean, it blocks flyers, it can be pretty large, it can gain you a ton of life out of nowhere. So I'm interested in it. We've got Karvet, which, like I said before, has been absolutely nuts for me. I mean, 4/5 flying lifesteal for 6 is already pretty decent, and then it getting at least a 1/1 on top of that, and then like the mastery, it's just got so many things going on with it. It's been surprisingly good for me. And that was only when I was getting like 1 cultist at a time, and we've got a few different dragons, so we might be able to make 2 or 3 even. Optimally, obviously, that would be pretty sweet. But even just making 1 seems like it's pretty solid, and especially when it gives all the other cultists exalted, we can do some cool things with that. Then we have Nahid's Choice, which is mostly for us to just play cultists, although it's nice against certain decks. Like, there are some decks running around that are mostly no spells, right? Like they're trying to run a couple of sites, and that are no units rather, sorry. They're mostly spell decks. And in those style of decks, like if they're playing an Ixton style deck and they're trying to play gardens or stuff like that, then you can really get them with a Nahid's Choice. You've also got Worthy Cause, which I kind of looked the other way on at first, and I was like, it just requires a bit. Like, you have to sacrifice a unit. But I didn't really realize the silence. I kind of misread that, and I just thought it was -1/-1 for each unit in your void. But silencing it as well is pretty huge. The Decimate doesn't come into play too often, but it's nice to still have that flexibility. And it being a fast spell is important. So this is where I was saying you can do a little bit of a trick. So fun thing with Zhen-Zu is that it gets larger every time a cultist goes to your void. So if you have a way to, like, at instant speed, even just discard cards off the top of your deck, or, for example, sacrifice cultists, then boom, you can actually attack like a 3/3 Zhen-Zu into another 3/3 and actually get them with a Worthy Cause. So you can do some cool things with Zhen-Zu. I really like Zhen-Zu a lot. It's been overperforming for me in a few different decks. So it's been pretty solid. Then, of course, we have just our kind of regular mana base here. We've got a bunch of Insignias, because we are only playing 2 colors. We have Seed of Mystery, because you don't have crests, you don't have banners, so we've got to make up for that. We have Time Sigils and Shadow Sigils. I only have 1 each of the emblems, And I don't know that I want to go too crazy on them anyways, because I've got these seats. I feel like Emblem of Grodov might be a little bit better than Emblem of Makkar because of the Exalted, but I'm not sure about that. Like, the Exalted and having sacrifice effects is the big thing, right? We have Nahid's Faithful, we have Worthy Cause, we have the Marsh Dragon, so being able to sacrifice an Exalted unit is kind of huge. So I was thinking that Emblem of Grodov might be one that we want to add more of, but we don't have a whole lot of time. Like, we have Cult Aspirant, Nahid's, Zhen-Zu, and then our spells. And yeah, that's it. So we don't need to go too crazy on emblems, taking a bunch of damage on ourselves, and of course then having to have triple time, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to test out a little bit of each, and we can hopefully find them every once in a while and see how they perform. Alright, so this is our deck. Thanks for listening to me ramble all about all the format changes and what we're doing here on the channel soon. If you don't remember, I'm going to be eating the Ice Dog sandwich right away. Everybody was very awesome. We've had a lot of subs and patrons recently, and I can't thank you enough for that. If you want to be a sub or patron, then you can help me submit some of these decks to our Tournament of Power monthly. We just did our video on that last week, and I'm really excited about the next one. Because of all the subs that we had, though, I have to eat this horrible sandwich that I'm going to make myself. I'm going to do a whole video on it and set up my good cameras and do like an actual little cooking show on how to make this. Anyway, so thank you for making me endure it, and I'll see you in a moment for all of the matches.